I became a Christian in 1980 as a university student. I was a freshman at Cal State University at Long Beach. And I had several people telling me about Christ, and at one point I just realized, you know what, I need to make this decision. So I found someone who led me to Christ, and then I realized I need to read the Bible. So I just started reading the New Testament, one chapter at a time. And I remember reading the book of Acts for the very first time. Now, one thing you need to know about me is I don't come from a Christian home or a Christian background. In fact, my family was not just non-Christian, they were anti-Christian. They were against Christianity. So my choosing to follow Christ was a rebellious act against my family. So I had no idea any of the stories of the Bible, had no background in Christianity. So when I was reading the book of Acts for the first time, I was reading brand new stories I had never heard before, and it just gripped me. And I remember I couldn't put the book down, but I had class coming up real soon, so I had to shut the book, and I forced myself to shut it and grab my backpack and start jogging across campus to go to my class. And I was doing something that now I know is praying, but I was so brand new to the faith. I thought to pray, you had to be on your knees, your hands had to be like this, and there had to be stained glass somewhere around you. And you had to speak with these and thous. I was just thinking in my head, which is a form of prayer, listening to God in your head, but I didn't know this at the time. And so I just remember thinking, boy, I wish I was alive back then to see all these stories and miracles happen that I was reading about in the book of Acts. And it was at that moment I heard the Lord's voice break through into my mind as a silent thought that was contrary to what my train of thought was. And I heard God say to me, those who were alive back then wish that they were alive during your time. And I have carried that idea with me throughout my life to understand that I was born in a significant time period. You were born in a significant time. Unlike any time in all of human history, the time we live in now are significant. And that's what I want to talk about when I look at these four tides that are rising. The first one is the rising population. You may know the numbers, like we are fast approaching 8 billion people on the planet. And so that's something well known, well understood by many people, but not really, we don't comprehend the significance of this in the scope of history. So what I like to do to help you understand the significance of this historically is to show you visually how the time has changed the population from the time of Christ. So this is a picture, a graph of the population growth from the time of Christ. It's not very significant. At the time of Christ, he's given us the Great Commission to go to all the world and make disciples of all the nations. And we did that. And in fact, the first century church was probably one of the most fruitful periods of time in all of human history. And the entire Roman Empire heard the gospel. In fact, what's unique is the church was able to accomplish something that no nation on the earth was able to do. Stand up to the Roman Empire and defeat it. And in the 300s, the emperor himself, Constantine, surrendered his life to becoming a Christian. And he made church not just legal, but he made church profitable. And a new form of church was born at that time that still, as a model, exists to this day. In fact, it's what you are most familiar with. It has a day of the week, it has an address and a building, it has a pastor who leads. That form of church was developed in the 300s, and it has existed to this day. Now, in 1804, something significant happened to change everything. And at the time, people were not aware that it was changing things. But in 1804, the population of the world reached 1 billion for the first time. From the time that Noah got off the ark until that time, all those thousands of years, finally, the population of the world reached a significant milestone of 1804. But what people didn't know at the time is that that was going to change everything. Because what happens next is just unprecedented. And I find that if you hear the numbers are so large and so hard to comprehend that it just slides right out of our mind. So what I like to do is show you visually how significant this change was. So take a look at this graph as it grows. You are here. Now take a look at that. This is an unprecedented time in human history that you were born. This momentum of growth in our population has never happened in all of history. In the history of humanity, we've never seen anything like this. And the momentum of this growth is unfathomable because it's exponential. Most people suffer because they don't understand the significance of true exponential growth, where things double all the time. And that's the way the population growth is. Now, for you to understand the power of this momentum behind this tidal increase, look at here. This is where I was born in 1960. So it took the entire history of mankind to get to 1804 to pass 1 billion. In my lifetime, we've grown by 4 billion people while I've been alive. And as far as I can tell, I'm still alive and it's still growing. This is significant. Now, what implications does this have for the way we do church? You see, the model of church that we inherited from Constantine in the 300s, we're still practicing it to this day. But here's the interesting thing. The church was far more fruitful prior to Constantine than it was after Constantine. Because the church prior to Constantine was alive, it was movemental, it was multiplying, it was spreading from life to life like a virus over the planet. And then when Constantine made it an institution that had a building, had a professionally paid clergy, that had a day of the week that it met, it suddenly contained everything and stopped multiplying and stopped spreading. And that model persists to this day, and it's what you're used to. It's the, go on Sunday, say a prayer, sing a song, hear a sermon, then go home. That's not all churches, and that's what we want to talk about. The implications of this population growth has significance on the church because what we've been doing will not reach the ends of the earth. We have to think about and change the way we practice if we want to multiply so we can catch up and keep up with the population.